She's been working hand in glove with this beautiful woman that I married, Valley, and they have been working every day, and I've made all the coffee and all the snacks while they were doing it. Just saying, no, it's okay. I've got my star. But anyway, I know, enough Rick. But anyway, so here is the amazing Valley Hennell to tell you about this amazing project.
Thank you for coming, because if you knew how scared Jane was, you'd know this makes a huge difference. Takes a really long time to write a book, a memoir. It takes a lifetime to write a memoir. For me, about 4 years ago, Carol Matthews mentioned to me, "Oh, Jane's writing a book." And I said, "Oh, I didn't know Jane was a writer." And she said, "She's writing a book." And then she moved off the island. So she said, "Maybe you could look at Jane's book." And maybe about 2 years ago, Jane brought me this very thick manuscript and said, could you look at my manuscript? I said, "Yeah." Now, I've been a writer for 50 years, and I've looked at a lot of things, and the hardest thing is when someone you like gives you something of theirs to read and you don't like it. And you have to somehow find some kind thing to say. In the creative writing department where I got my degrees, we got really good at being ruthless because it was so hard to do that. So I had trepidation, and I started reading this story, which is the story of Jane's life, and I was stunned. I was moved by its beauty, its integrity, and it started to change the way I looked at my own garden. And I thought, wow, like this, I couldn't put it down. So I said, yeah, I'll have a go at editing it. Editing is a bit like pruning, I discovered in the process of writing the book. And the thing is, when you're not a trained writer, and I know this from working with Rick, who wrote a novel that was 300 pages that somehow I had to bring down to a workable size, you tell the same story 2 or 3 times because you're not sure you told it yet, and you're not sure you told it right, so you just tell it again. Jane's book is based on love. It's based on love for life, based on love for living things, both animate in human form, animal form, and plant form. And it's based on love for this island. And Jane has been on this island for 40 years. She has seen it evolve in a way that has changed my way of seeing it. And she's worked with many of the people who are now no longer with us, the real Protection Island pioneers, the people who moved here when there weren't so many of us and there wasn't a real community. And because I have been here 20 years and was graced to know some of the elders she's writing about, but never knew them the way she knew them, I felt like a whole new layer of Protection Island was opening to me. Meanwhile, that other book about our island came out that I couldn't relate to at all because it made us look so crummy. And I thought, well, this is a nice antidote to that. Let's have a book that shows what kind of community we really are. Jane will talk about what inspired her to write the book, but it is about how our lives are like gardens. And through this book, my whole way of gardening has changed. It's a story, it's a manual, and it's just a lot of fun. And the best part was we sat together hour after hour and we thought the same thought in the same moment every time. And that has never happened to me in a collaboration before. It's been a pleasure and a joy, and I'm so excited. We're in design. Ronan Lazanel is in design with it. We have kind of a little working copy. Within a month, we'll have the real book. I'm going to put this clipboard on the table over there where the prizes are. Please just put your email so we can let you know. We'll have a big launch when we have real books. Please welcome our own, very own lovely Jane.
So, this little book started about 5 years ago, I think. I'd been playing with a blog that I had created, and Carol said she read the blog, interestingly enough, and she said, you could write a book about with this blog. And I thought, yeah, okay, I'll do that. My mom always said, you should write a book, right? And I said about the same thing to her. Yeah, okay, I'll do that one day. And then I did. I always thought that if this book was going to be, it would be, and I didn't want to force it to be. So I was just kind of, well, yeah, okay, well, a couple of years went by, and 3 and 4 years went by, and eventually Louise said to me, you could go talk to Valley, because Valley might, she's busy, but she might be able to take a little time to help you with this, or at least she could point you in the right direction. So I thought, oh, Valley, okay. I know she's a busy woman. And I don't know Valley very well, but I've known her for many years. And we started working together because she said, I do like this book. I'd like to help you with this book, and it would be great fun to do it. And so we started working together, and 2 years, pretty intensely at times. But everything was so easy. It was so easy to read. It was so easy to say, oh yeah, let's cut this part, or let's say this, or let's, all the pruning and trimming that you do with it. And it was like, it just started falling together. And it was so fun. I mean, we were drinking coffee and had snacks and we laughed a lot. And yeah, and so eventually, the next person who really came in that helped a lot with this book was Ronan. And I don't know Ronan very well, but he's been delightful to work with. From my standpoint, he has a really keen eye and a wonderful imagination, and I'm very grateful to him for taking on the project. So now, it looks like this.
Oh. How many pages?
76 trombones. No, pages.
10 color pages.
Color pages,
wow.
Black and white pages.
Lots of photos.
Lots of photos and writing, and it looks like a book. I mean, it's like almost a book here.
Before that, it looked like a different kind of book.
Yeah. It's gone through so many phases and stages, and it's all been remarkable. It's been kind of magical, actually. Here's part of the book. For me, it goes like this. It's the 12th of January. It's foggy, and moisture's dripping from the trees. I'm out in my garden in my housecoat, an overcoat, and rubber boots. I got my coffee, my iPad, and I'm deadheading hellebores, because I have some early ones. I'm peering at the numerous bulbs who are sending up shoots for this year's performance. The cyclamen coum reveals slivers of brilliant magenta, deep magenta. The burgundy and green stems of blue coronaria anemones are being eaten by slugs as they emerge from the earth. I have an intimate relationship with this garden. Each inhabitant has been touched by my hands, and I'm filled with a sense of place. I'm going to cry a lot. As I walk about here and there, checking this one and that, my senses whirl with wonderings and inspiration. On this fair isle, we have many gardeners. And until May 1996, only friends and relations were privy to what was growing behind our amazing and varied fences. That was the year Heather, I don't know if who's here, and Esme, who is here, decided it was time to have our own annual garden tour. There were garden tours all over Vancouver Island and other Gulf Islands, so why not here? Thus began the annual Protection Island Garden Tour. Up until now, your garden had been your own, a place where you could wander around in the early morning in your housecoat, carrying a cup of coffee, chatting with your plants. A place where friends and neighbors would join you in your ramblings while you catch up on each other's lives. Not a place where solitude and intimacy are thrown to the wind and anybody can wander in and around your relatively sacred space. For some, the prospect of the garden tour takes over their lives and their ability to think calmly and rationally. In the weeks before the big day, their minds, hearts, and bodies begin to whirl, doubt, and ache, attempting to make their gardens perfect. Lists of new and brilliantly beautiful flowering plants are made. Yards of manure and compost are ordered and delivered to the boulevards. Gardeners are hired or their hours are increased. Preparation for the garden tour can seem akin to preparing for one's own coming out party. You and your garden are on display for all to see and enjoy. It can be a little hectic. Co-worker Joe and I can attest to the intensity of this process, starting weeks, sometimes months before the tour date. People start bringing plants home and materials that over the next hours per week will be incorporated into their already beautiful gardens, as if they'd always been there. It's much like what my mom used to do before the cleaning lady came. She'd go around tidying the house to make sure everything was ready to be cleaned. Vinnie has created an incredibly diverse garden bursting with mature fruit trees and enormous kiwi vines. Most gardeners are tireless workers. The real beauty of their endeavors is in the diversity of expression. Just as no two people are alike, so it is with gardens. We all have something wonderful and different to contribute.